Hello, 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 hello. It is 12 o'clock. PDT, PST, PDT, PST, PDT, PST. Standard time. Anyway, 12 o'clock, so, yeah. Turn the music off. Yeah. Turn the music off, turn the music off, can you turn the music off? You can't turn the music off. Okay, there will be apparently a musical accompaniment for today. Hello, hello. Hi. Hi, Dreamy Dance 7. Bowling Alley, who's that? Who could that possibly be? Hi, Leading Edge BCC. We got DJ Mill from Ottawa, Canada. Hi, Ottawa, Canada. You're the best. You're the best. Nada, thank you. Nada Battles. Hello from, I can't read that. Seriously, glasses. I just need to get glasses.
It's not letting me even go on your live.
Other people are on. So many other people are on. From Italy, hello, provider teacher. Hi, thank you for staying up. Or is it 9 o'clock probably, Italy time? Christy Pavel, hello, Christy Pavel. Hi there, Doreen from ADP. Hi, Doreen. Hi. Sunny Denver. Denver's always sunny. I don't know why that is. I always think it's like it's all, full of snow and stuff, but it isn't.
Denver is clean.
Thank you. Denver's very, very clean, apparently. Culver City, Minneapolis. Hi, Mr. Rowan. Dreamy Dancer from India. I would not have gone with India, Dreamy Dancer. Hello from the Philippines. Goodness knows, what time is it in the Philippines? I should know that. What time is it in the Philippines? 2 a.m. Loveland. Hi, ADP India. Hi, ADP India. Glad to have you with us. I see Loved Life. Yeah. Los Angeles, hello. Another from Italy. Apparently we're huge in Italy. Welcome.
We might.
I don't think I need any water. I think I'm good. I'm good. All right. Hi, Josephine Borman. I know you. I think you're related to me in some way. All right, Pretoria, South Africa. Hello, Duchess of I can't read that. Darn, I missed that. Great to see you too, Life Eden. Great to see you. Hi from ADP in France. Salut, comment ça va? Tu vas bien, j'espère. That was, I think, French. I think it was French. I think it was a little French. Hi from Iran. Hi. Good Lord, what time must it be in Iran? Must be late in Iran. Brazil, hello. Hi, Quebec. Salut. Shout out from Laguna Beach. Laguna Beach is a long way over there. Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome from Moscow, Russia. Wow, hi Russia. Stay safe and warm. May, spring happening. Okay, so we are live here on a Friday. I'm going to get going because some of you came in on time, so we're just going to go ahead and dive in. It is live though, so last week, as some of you know, we got hijacked by Lilia and Jill, a girlfriend, and so I don't plan for that to be happening again, but who knows what may happen. I do have a plan of stuff to go through with you. Today, as you know, is all about teams. So give me some hearts if any of you are here with your team. Any of you here with teams? I'd love to know whether we got some teams on the virtual teams, obviously in this happy day and age. We actually have almost like 39,000 since we started this. 39,000 people have taken StandOut since this gift of StandOut started. Yeah, all these teams. Okay, lots and lots of teams. Okay, I'm going to stay focused on teams because that's what we promised you, so that's what we're going to do. Teams. But 40,000 people have taken StandOut, which was just, it's way more than I ever thought. And so to my team, by the way, thank you to my team who's put this together. Michelle is here, but Meredith and Christy and Kate, and then the entire ADP TMBC team that's just supporting all of this. There's a lot of volume of people. So thank you to my team. And then 3,000 odd of you have actually clicked on the activity, the team activity. And so I promise, by the end of today, I will go through this activity that many thousands of you downloaded. I will go through that, promise. I don't know about you though, I look forward to these things because it's a weird time, isn't it? I don't know about you, we're all sort of a bit emotionally raw, which can be a kind of a good time to be open to how to get better together as teams. When I read about that African-American chap here who's jogging, who got killed, I find myself just bawling. I mean, just whether it's bad news like that or whether it's good news, like I'm sure you saw this, that the Choctaw Nation back in 1847 had like given $170 to the folks who were suffering with famine in Ireland in 1847. And then so today, if you haven't seen this, you should check it out. Like the Choctaw Indian Nation is really struggling with food and medical supplies and so forth. And they've raised like $3.5 million by this morning. And a massively disproportionate number of them have come from Ireland. Like they're returning the favor like 150 years later. It's so, and I'm bawling about that too. Maybe you are too. You find yourself just raw. So it's a great time to come together and go, all right, like how do we get closer together? How do we do more together? Which of course is teams. So I will go through this activity. I do want your questions. I'll keep looking down all the way through and see whether I can capture some of the questions.
As comments, we're collecting all comments.
Yes, so our team is collecting all your comments and all your questions. A couple of you are asking very specifically, how do we use StandOut with recruiting? I promise you, not I probably, I promise you I'll get to that. How do you use StandOut to recruit for teams and so forth? And then ask your questions, because we do have a little team here who is collecting everything you're asking. Even if I don't get to it, I promise you we will be listening to it and responding. I'm responding to all your questions on Instagram, and I'm trying to hit all of them. Please keep asking. So, yes, we will get to this activity. Before that, though, a little context. I want you to imagine, I promise you there is a point to this. I want you to imagine that your name is Adam Brum. And it's about December 2017, and you've heard that there are some pictures on cave walls on the island of Sulawesi in Indonesia. And so you go there and you find this hand, this outline of a hand in red on the wall of the cave. And so you take a sounding of it, you go, oh, that's kind of interesting, and you take the material back to the lab to see how old it is, and you discover that it is the oldest piece of art that humans have ever made. It's more than 44,000 years old, and you freak out, because all the drawings that we see on cave walls in the south of France are about 30,000 years old, and the theory is that was the first art by humans in sort of 30,000 years ago. You've just found art that is 44,000 years old. So you get all freaked out about it. You come back and you start looking for more art. And you think you might find another hand, or you might find a face, or who knows what part of the human body might be put on the wall that you would find. And instead what you do is you climb up this ladder and you walk into this cave and you find this 16-foot kind of masterpiece, this complex piece of art which shows all these animals and then these figures, these human-like figures corralling these animals. And what you've discovered is the earliest piece of human art ever. The earliest piece of human art ever turns out to be a picture of a team. It's a bunch of little individual people, but all of them have strange features. One of them has a crocodile snout. One of them has a beak. One of them has a tail. One of them has a trunk like an elephant. And what you realize is that the first piece of human art that we thought to put on a wall was the idea that each one of us has different qualities, strengths, powers. And the only way we're going to be able to do things together is if we come together with somebody with the intelligence of the crocodile, someone with the strength of the elephant, someone with the speed of the cheetah. I don't know whether this freaks you out, but it just is amazing to me. The very first thing we thought to put on a wall to paint was how much we rely on one another. It's the first way that we have of saying this is who we are. We are people who need one another. And of course, is then you play this out. And whether it's the Bible with the disciples, whether it's the Iliad with Odysseus and the siege of Troy, or whether today it's the Avengers, right? Or Ocean's 11, or Lord of the Rings. Whenever we see a great human piece of art, it's always, the first chunk of it is always, how do we put the team together? How do we put the team together? Whether it's George Clooney and Brad Pitt, and they're putting their team together with Matt Damon, or whether it's Jesus and the disciples, it's like you're pulling together always a team. Because a team can do together what none of us can do alone. The human experience is a team experience. I helped run the ADP Research Institute. We did this global study of engagement last year, And it turns out 84% of people say they do most of their work on teams. 84% of us. There isn't a single country that's less than 80% of us do work on teams. Teams is everything. And yet it's funny, Jace, who is Michelle's oldest boy, Jace is like 17. Everything Jace does at school is alone. Everything that Jace does, all the lessons he learns, it's all about his own personal learning and achievement. Now, his actual contribution in the world will all be through teams, and yet no one teaches Jace how to do teams. There's no class on teams. How do you set one up? How do you join one? How do you build one? There's nothing. There's like rah-rah about how jolly important teams are, but there's nothing on like how do you actually do teams? 44,000 years ago, they were putting together these kind of cool little teams where we could rely on one another in different ways. Today, in school and at work, we don't do teams. Weirdly, right? Even at work, we talk about teamwork, but 65% of people say they do work on more than one team. And that those other teams that they're on are not reflected in the org chart. So we can't even see the teams. We talk about teamwork, but what does it actually take to build a really great team? So before I dive into this activity or take any more questions, here's the basics of teams. Here is the basics of what research has told us is the basics of building a team. First of all, the two most basic human needs that teams fulfill are tell me what we all share together, and then tell me what is special about me. Tell me what's universal, tell me what's unique about me. If you run a great team, it's because you're really good at making people meet those two needs. Tell me what's great about me, and then tell me what we all share. Tell me what we all have in common, but tell me what's unique about me. That's what the best team leaders do to build teams. And of course, a family is a team. If you are leading a family, tell us what this family has in common, and then tell me that you know I'm your favorite child. Those are two really basic human needs. Tell me what we all share. Tell me what's special about me. Boy, you do that well, and you'll be an amazing team leader, whether you're running a team at work or a team at home with your family. So that's the first thing I wanted to share, that those two basic needs are so important in building teams. And then in terms of like, well, how do you do that? How do you actually attend to those two really important needs? Well, here are three things to think about, and then we'll dive into this activity. Three things. If you want to, I hesitate to say it this way, but it's like, if you want to run a really great family, this is what you should be doing. And if you want to run a really great team, this is what you should be doing. Always be rallying, always be recruiting, and always be weaving. Always be rallying, always be recruiting, always be weaving. Here's what we mean by that. Always be rallying. Well, first of all, the first question you've got to ask as you run a team is, this team was put together to do what? This team was put together to do what? You've got to tell me what it's for. When George Clooney turns to Brad Pitt and says, can you come and help me do this? It's because we want to knock off Andy Garcia's casino. And when Frodo in The Lord of the Rings says, come join this team, it's because we want to go to Mordor and whatever he wants to do. But there's always a hill we have to take. And in this very busy, dynamic world, if you are running a team, like give me some love if you are running a team. How many actual team leaders? How many actual team leaders do we have on the live right now? Just so I know how many folks I'm actually speaking to. If you're running a team, I'm on your team, I want to know, yeah, we got some team leaders. Okay, all right. I want to know what hill we are supposed to, okay, all these team leaders, yeah. What did you put this team together for? We put this team together to do what? In a super dynamic world of business, particularly today where we're all virtual, I need to look at you, my team leader, and you got to tell me what we put this team together for. I don't necessarily mean a mission statement or a vision statement. What hill are we supposed to take? What's the team for? With that cave in Sulawesi, it was like, we need to go capture that pig. Okay? So that's pretty clear. In today's world of work or business, what's the team together for? What's your family together for, weirdly enough? Like that, I want that from you. And of course, StandOut, the language of StandOut is designed to help you. if you're going to be rallying us, and by the way, team leaders, just because you did it once doesn't mean it's over. You got to keep rallying, right? Keep rallying. So how do you get me excited about taking this hill? Well, let's run through these 9. How do you get an advisor excited to be rallying to take that hill? Well, if you're an advisor, if you've got an advisor on your team and you want to get them excited about taking the hill, say that if we take the hill, things will work better. Things will be more efficient, more effective. If you have a connector, then you want to talk about how getting to the top of the hill is going to enable so much more possibilities. You'll be able to describe the big picture much better if we get to the top of this hill. If you're a creative, if you wanted to rally me to take the hill, you'd go, Marcus, if we get to the top of this hill, things will be thought through better. Things will be thought through better. If you've got an equalizer on the team, talking to them about how it'll help you thought through better is like irrelevant. You've got to say to an equalizer, if you want to get to the top of this hill, we should do it because it's the right thing to do. It's just the right thing to do. It will mean we can follow through on our promises.
Lily is on.
Lily is on. Hi, Lilia. So happy you're not. Well, actually, it's not true. I would love her to be here because then she could go have some gummy bears and play with Henry.
She's putting a bunch of funny emojis.
Oh, she is? Okay, well,
harassing you through emoji.
That's the state of fatherhood today. Myself somehow. Did I unpause? How did she do that from afar? Did Lilia ruin me from afar? Love that. Influencer. If you want to get an influencer excited about getting to the top of the hill, tell them all the repercussions, all the consequences that would happen if we don't do it. Remember, influencers think about consequences. Influencers think about repercussions. You want to... What do you mean? Okay. What I mean is, you are constantly telling your best people, yeah, okay, see, they know. You want to get a pioneer excited about going to the top of the hill? Say, look, no one's ever been there before. No one's ever been there before. Okay, all these team leaders, yeah. What did you put this team together for? We put this team together to do what? In a super dynamic world of business, particularly today where we're all virtual, I need to look at you, my team leader, and you got to tell me what we put this team together for. I don't necessarily mean a mission statement or a vision statement. What hill are we supposed to take? What's the team for? With that cave in Sulawesi, it was like, we need to go capture that pig. Okay? So that's pretty clear. In today's world of work or business, what's the team together for? What's your family together for, weirdly enough? Like that, I want that from you. And of course, StandOut, the language of StandOut is designed to help you. If you're going to be rallying us, and by the way, team leaders, just because you did it once doesn't mean it's over. You've got to keep rallying, right? Keep rallying. So how do you get me excited about taking this hill? Well, let's run through these 9. How do you get an advisor excited to be rallying to take that hill? Well, if you're an advisor, if you've got an advisor on your team and you want to get them excited about taking the hill, say that if we take the hill, things will work better. Things will be more efficient, more effective. If you have a connector, then you want to talk about how getting to the top of the hill is going to enable so much more possibilities. You'll be able to describe the big picture much better if we get to the top of this hill. If you're a creative, if you wanted to rally me to take the hill, you'd go, Marcus, if we get to the top of this hill, things will be thought through better. Things will be thought through better. If you've got an equalizer on the team, talking to them about how it'll help you thought through better is like irrelevant. You've got to say to an equalizer, if you want to get to the top of this hill, we should do it because it's the right thing to do. It's just the right thing to do. It will mean we can follow through on our promises.
Lily is on.
Lily is on. Hi, Lilia. So happy you're not. Well, actually, it's not true. I would love her to be here because then she could go have some gummy bears and play with Henry.
She's putting a bunch of funny emojis.
Oh, she is? Okay, well,
harassing you through emoji.
That's the state of fatherhood today. Influencer. If you want to get an influencer excited about getting to the top of the hill, tell them all the repercussions, all the consequences that would happen if we don't do it. Remember, influencers think about consequences. Influencers think about repercussions. You want to rally an influencer to take the hill? Talk about what would happen, the negative consequences if we don't. If you want to look at pioneer, you want to get a pioneer excited about going to the top of the hill, say, look, no one's ever been there before. No one's ever been there before. We would be the first at the top of the hill. This is new, this is difficult, this is exciting. Like, that's a pioneer. If you've got a provider on your team, then you will be talking to them about the fact that if we get to the top of this hill, more people's voices will be heard. More people will be included. More people will feel supported. That's your language. If you've got a stimulator, like me and Michelle, stimulators, you'll tell us, look, it's just more exciting on the top of that hill. Come on, get to the top of that hill because it's going to be so incredibly dramatic for us to figure out how to get there. And think about how excited we'll be when we're on the top of the hill. And then, of course, for teachers, you're going to be, if you've got a teacher on your team, they're going to be asking lots of questions and keeping space open for people to, what you'll say to the teachers is, if you want to be excited about getting to the top of the hill, think about how much we'll learn, how much you'll learn, how many choices we'll make as we figure out our way up. Show the teachers how many little alternative paths there are that we're going to have to choose. So, for team leaders here, if you've got a bunch of different people on your team, then figuring out what language to use to rally each person, that's super cool. And it's something that you'll get better at the more that you do it. I'm just looking at any questions we got going on here. Second thing, right? I said always be rallying. Always be rallying. Always be rallying. Second, like this is what I would teach Jace. If I was teaching Jace, or if I was teaching Lilia. Lilia's putting together teams already, and she's got some natural talent for it. But if I was teaching Lilia how to build a team, the very next, and she's going to do it. She's going to put together teams to make all sorts of interesting works of art, or books, or videos, or whatever. The second thing I would tell her is always be recruiting. Always be recruiting. I don't mean just to invite someone onto the team, but as some of you know, if you're running a team, you've always got to be rehiring your best people. Always rehire your best people. I know as per the National Employment Report from ADP a couple of days ago, we've lost 20 million jobs. I mean, the whole labor market's been thrown up in the air, but we're going to come back. We're all going to come back. And when you come back as a team leader, you want the best people to work for you. So that means you've always got to be rehiring your best people. Show some love if you know what I mean by that. Just show some hearts if you know what I mean by always rehire your best people.
What do you mean?
Well, Michelle's like, what? Sorry, what do you mean? Okay, what I mean is you are constantly telling your best people, yeah, okay, see, they know. Constantly telling your best people why you need them on the team. We've called this whole thing, I see you, I love you. But when it comes to recruiting, it's I see you, I love you, we need you. I see you, I love you, we need you. If you want to run a really good team, get really good at that. I see you, I love what I see, we need it. Look, Jakai, my colleague Jakai, some of you heard me talk about Jakai. Jakai's really busy. He's really busy. He's got a bunch of other stuff going on. He's on a team over here, he's on a team over there. I had to call him up and go, I need you, please, to make some of these beautiful cartoons that you've just got a natural ability to see the world in a way that's human, that's loving, and that's funny. And that's me recruiting. I'm just always recruiting people onto my team. And the same should be true for you, even the people that are already on your team. I see you, I love you, we need you. And the more vivid you can be about that, can you get better at that? Yes. Oh, to your question earlier, Michelle had a question about, some people were like, I don't agree with I see you, I love you, because I love my son and he's passed away. He's on my dad. He died. Like my dad died. Have I stopped loving my dad because I don't see him? So just to be clear on this, when I say I see you, I love you, I don't mean I see you face to face. In fact, in this day right now, we don't see people face to face very often. When I say I see you, I mean I see the unique aspects of you. It's almost like you'd replace the word see with know you. It's almost like the Avatar. If you haven't seen Avatar, it's like I don't know how to say it in Na'vi, but I see you. So isn't it weird? just give me some love if you've ever had this, where you've gone to a funeral. Like I almost had this with my dad, who died a couple of years ago. You go to his funeral, and so many people stand up and they talk about the unique weirdness of my beautiful dad. And it's almost like the first time you really see the fullness of a human is when they're gone. And you go, why didn't I say this before? So that's what I mean by see you.
One of those messages you got an email after people that used to work with them and telling you stories.
Yeah. So Michelle's saying that after I went to Dad's, I wrote his eulogy, and by the way, that's a lot. You stop and you just try to think about everything that was pure and powerful about a person. So I did the eulogy, and then all these people from my dad's past wrote to me afterwards these stories that I had no idea about, these impacts that he had on them that I had no idea about. It's very sort of It's a Wonderful Life-ish, and it can get, I suppose, a bit cliched, but oh my word, it hit me. I'm sure you've had this, right? When someone's passed on and you go, I just didn't stop enough and look and see them in as deep and as rich a way as I should have done. And so that's what we mean by I see you, I love you. Not face to face. If you've had a cousin or a brother or a father or a family member or a friend who's passed on, yes, you can still completely love them even though you don't see them. And in fact, you might be able to see more and more and more of who they are because you've had a chance to really think about who they are. So, second thing, and Lilia, if you're on, always be recruiting. Get really, really good at saying to someone, I see you, I love you, we need you. And the need is this bit of you, this beautiful, unique little card that you have, Jakai, Michelle, Meredith, Christy. I mean, Christy on our team is like anyone, she could be working anywhere. I had to be able to go, Christy, this thing you have is a beautiful thing, and that's, for Christy, that turns into contribution. So, for those team leaders on the phone, if you really want to get people to want to join your team, get really good at trying to describe, I see you, I love you, we need you. Always, and it isn't done. I'll be needing to do this with Christy forever. If you're really good at building teams, it's because you're really good at ongoing recruiting. The last thing, I was struggling, I was talking to Michelle about this, what's the right word? I said weaving. Always be weaving. What that means is, for those of you that know teams, you're constantly trying to put the person with the work, the person with the work. Here's the work we have to do, here's the person. And then you've got 3, 4, 5, 6 people all of a sudden with different people, lots of work. How do you weave the person and the work together? And then there's 3 and 4 other people. How do you do that? You're constantly weaving, aren't you? Right? Give me some love if you know what I mean by weaving. Or by the way, give me, if you think there's a better word for it.
Yes.
Michelle thinks there's a better word. When I run a team, I'm constantly talking to Kate or Christy or Meredith or Michelle about what's the work, what's you? What's the work, what's you? What's the work, what's you? So I'm going to go with weaving for a minute, unless any of you got a better, how do we make the team better together? Yes, but what's the, always be rallying, always be recruiting, always be, I'm going to stick with weaving, intertwining. I like that. It's less aligning and more like Julie, it's connecting the person and the work, connecting the person and the work. But it's not a one-time thing, right?
Ocean Guru says it's totally weaving. So let's
Okay. Thank you, Ocean Guru. How do you do that? How do you do this? Well, let me give you 2 ways to do it, and one of them will be this activity. The first one, though, is even simpler than this, and some of you know this. As a team leader, I'm so sorry, but you're going to have to check in with each of your people once a week. 15 minutes, 10 minutes, every week. And you're just going to ask 2 questions. What are you working on this week? How can I help? Don't do it as a team, weirdly enough. Weirdly enough, the best ritual to build a team isn't a team activity to start with. It's a one-on-one, where you're just going with each person. And what's amazing is it doesn't have to be face-to-face at all. It could be on the phone, it could be text. But every single week, you're going, what are you working on? How can I help? That's it. It's 15 minutes. But if you listen to me saying this and you go, well, I'd love to do this, but I'm too busy leading, then you've forgotten what leading in. Leading is the weaving bit. What are you working on? How can I help? Remember, the goals you set at the beginning of the year are irrelevant by the 3rd week of the year, aren't they? Right? The world moves so, who knew we'd be in this situation even a month ago? So every week, remember, a year is 52 little sprints. every week. What am I working on? What are you working on? How can I help? What are you working on? How can I help? And that way, you're just constantly bobbing and weaving through the course, during the course of a year. It's a beautiful thing. That's called a check-in. You could call it a one-on-one. You could call it a touch base. But if you're doing it once a month, it's not enough. If you say, well, I'd love to do it, but I've got too many people, then you've got too many people, right? The perfect span of control is the number of people that you can check in with every week. Span of control, write this down, team leaders. Span of control is span of attention. Span of attention. What is the number of people you can give one-on-one attention to every week for 15 minutes? I promise you, that is all the data shows. If you do that religiously every week, people lean into you because they feel like you're paying attention to them and their work. No theory, no abstractions. It's like in the work. So that's the first thing. If you want to weave, do the one-on-one thing. Find your way to do it. But it's just 2 questions and it's 10 minutes. And if you can't do it for 10 minutes, then don't be a team leader. I'm sorry. Go do something else. I'm sure it's jolly valuable. But if you want to build a team, you've got to talk to them frequently about them and their work. So that's the first thing. Check-in. The second thing is this activity. And I'm going to run through it. If you haven't clicked on, go to marcusbuckingham.com, you can find it.
First, say hi to your fan in Brazil.
Oh, hi to my fan in Brazil. I have one, and you're on the phone. That's so great. Hi, Brazil. Build confidence, increases trust. Yes, span of control is span of attention. Yes, please spread that everywhere. What's the perfect span of control? 1 to 10, 1 to 15, 1 to... It's the number of people you can touch base with. It's span of attention. There are some places, we got a bunch of people from India, where you got spans of control of 1 to 70. There are some healthcare establishments here in this country, in the US, where you've got nurse supervisor to nurses of 1 to 60. And we wonder why nurses get burned out. How can any nurse supervisor possibly pay attention to each individual nurse if the ratio is 1 to 60? It's like we've designed companies as though the humans that work in them aren't humans, right? Give me some love if you sort of know what I mean by that. Like we've designed spans of control as though it makes sense financially, 1 to 70, but it doesn't make sense for the humans that are working in these teams, right?
Someone said 30 too much. I don't know what that means. 30
people. If you can check in with people, if you can do, this is the simplest way to understand the size of a team. If you can do a 1-to-1 for 10 minutes with 30 people it's once every 11 days. The data says once every 11 days. If you can check in with 30 people once every 11 days for 10 minutes each and you do it well, then 1 to 30 is good for you. I can't. My span of control is about 7. Maybe 6. So everyone's a wee bit different, but think about that as the simplest way to understand the perfect span of control. It's the number of people you can check in with each week for 10 minutes. Okay, that's that. Now, the last thing, of course, is as a team leader, I can talk to each one of you one-on-one, but then how do you interact with each other? How do you collaborate? I want each of you to collaborate better with each other. How do we do that? And can StandOut help with that? So we did this, how do you manage performance then? Set yearly high-level goals, still or no? Can we hold that? Kay Palsy asking. That is a really great question. How do you do yearly goals then? If you keep changing the goals every 3 weeks, that's a really good question. I'm going to do this activity and then we'll come back to that question because that's a super interesting question. There's so many great questions. Hire the right people and your span of control can increase effectively. Yes, David. Yes, and yet. I don't know if you're watching The Last Dance right now, which is a kind of a recitation of Michael Jordan's last season with the Bulls. Some people say, look, if you get really, really talented people, they don't need you to check in with them. No, the data wouldn't back that up at all. I'm not saying that's what you were saying, David, but really talented people need more touch points, not less, because when you check in with people, you're not checking up on them. You're not checking up. You're checking in with. Michael Jordan, the brilliance of what was the name of the coach? Phil Jackson. The brilliance of Phil Jackson wasn't that he ignored Michael. And for those of you, if you haven't seen The Last Dance, like, if any of you are interested in teams, which I imagine if you're on this call, you kind of are, it's a case study, it's a master class in how do you take Michael Jordan, who won scoring titles, to turning him into winning actual NBA titles. It's a master class in teaming. And Phil didn't ignore Michael. It wasn't as though he was just like, oh, you know what, you can do whatever you want because you're Mike. It was sort of the opposite, where he was actually super individualized about what does Michael need? How does he play with Pippen? How does he play with John Paxson? How does he play in this triangle? It's fascinating. If you haven't, who's seen it? Have some love. Am I talking to people who you know what I'm talking about in terms of this, The Last Dance? Anyway, even if you don't like baseball, it's a study in humans. It is a study in humans. It's fascinating. All right, so here's the activity. And remember, the point of this activity is collaboration. If I'm running a team, I want each of my... Yeah, it's a whole bunch of you have seen it. Again, if you haven't, it's just like, it's teaming 101, 201, 301. It's like a masterclass in how do you get the best out of people. And so, by the way, just to reaffirm, when I say check in with people, I do not mean check up on people. In this time of virtual teams, there's a lot of team leaders that are kind of suspiciously checking up on what are you doing now? What are you doing? And there's even software out there that can, every 10 minutes, it takes a snapshot of your, of your laptop and broadcasts it to everyone on the team to see if you're really working. Okay, the best team leaders do not do that. They're checking in with you so that we together can go, who are you, what's your work? Who are you, what's your work? Every week. Just in case any of you were confused about how I framed that. We're not checking up on. So here's the activity. You, as a team leader, you want your people to know one another. Yeah, micromanagement is a killer. Absolutely, because it implies lack of trust. So if you want to get your people to collaborate better together, they've got to see one another. They've got to know one another. So try this. Get each of them, if they haven't already, to take the StandOut assessment. And then what you're going to ask each one of them to do by themselves is go through the results and do what we've just suggested a lot of the time here. Circle the phrases, the descriptions that really resonate with you. Tell each of your team members, or if you are a team member, do this by yourself. Just circle the things that you're like, yes, yes, I am that, I love that, I am that, I love that. Circle that. And then you're going to turn to this cheat sheet. We've called it a cheat sheet because people are so bloody complicated. If I'm working together on a team, even with my team, who I now don't see face to face other than my shell, it's like, how do you know your teammates well enough to know how to work with them better, collaborate better, innovate better, when they're so darn complicated and you can't see them? So here are a few questions that before you sit back down together with your team, you, by yourself, need to answer. And I'm going to run through them. You're going to answer, which part of the StandOut report felt really true to me? You're going to write that down by yourself. Which really, 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 really sang to me. Second, you're going to go, which activities that I currently do strengthen me? Which activities strengthen me? Which things I'm currently asked to do I seem to lean into? Remember, for those of you that don't know this isn't a remember, it's a new piece of information. A strength isn't what you're good at, and a weakness isn't what you're bad at. A strength is what strengthens you, and a weakness is what weakens you. And the reason that's a better definition is because there are some things that you're really, 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 really good at that you hate. Wouldn't it be good if your team members knew what those are? Because sometimes we work on teams and there's something that, like, give me some hearts if you know what I mean by this, where you're really, really, really good at something. And so your team keeps relying on you for it because you're so good at it, but you hate it. If you never had to do it again, it would be a day too soon. Have you ever found yourself in that situation where you always sort of get pigeonholed into doing something that, like that just happens, doesn't it? And by the way, it happens in school too, where your kids are like, well, I'm really good at pre-med. And then everyone's like, well, you should go to med school. And the kid is like, well, yeah, I'm really good at it, but I don't like sick people. Like that. there's a difference between what you're good at and what strengthens you. A strength is an activity that strengthens you. A weakness is an activity that weakens you, even if you're good at it. So, the second question to answer on this cheat sheet is, what are the activities that strengthen you? You don't need to say you're brilliant at them. You're not bragging, you're describing. It's a bit like we were talking about that last week with relationships. You don't have to brag. You can just go, I love it when, I'm at my best when. What are the activities that make you do that? Then the third question that we want you to answer is, these are the activities that weaken me. That is a revelation on a team. I know we're not supposed to say that because our manager will blah. No, your manager wants to see you. Which activities weaken you? I promise you, if you're a team member and your team leader's on this call right now, if you shared with them, look, these are some activities that I may be quite good at, but they drain me. That's beautiful sharing, because it will help the team leader get more from you, frankly. So what are the activities and that doesn't mean you have to stop doing them. Sometimes we just have to suck it up and do it. But we can't really help you weave you in the work unless we know which activities weaken you. Yes, Christy Pavel. Thank you, Christy Pavel. What was question 1? Joanne asked, what was question 1? Question 1 is, what parts of the StandOut report really resonated with you? So scribble that down. Second question, what activities really strengthen you on your job? Third question, what activities really drain you? And then there's 3 sort of sexy, kind of cool questions. Okay, here's the first one, question number 4. How do you take information in best? Have you ever thought about that? How do you take information in best? Jeff Bezos, his whole thing, for those of you that don't know, Jeff Bezos runs Amazon. He's like, if you've got an idea, it has to be a 6-page memo. 6-page memo. If you don't put together a 6-page memo, I can't take it in. Some other leaders are like, hey, shut up. Cut to the chase. Just cut to the chase. I need it in shorthand. So who knows? Like, what's your way of taking information in? I need quiet time to take it in so I can really marinate on it. My shell's weird.
Thanks.
And we'll just leave it at that.
That's so funny.
Okay, that was a
Throw
joke.
gummy berries.
You can do that. No, my shell's weird. She needs someone with her to take information in. She's a connector. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe she's just wired. I don't know. But she can't take information in if she's not with someone else. She can create stuff by herself. She just can't take it in unless there's a person to process it with. Okay, that's kind of it. I don't know what the hearts are for, like throwing a gummy bear at me. Maybe that's it. Anyway, that's really interesting to know, because you wouldn't know it from looking at a Portuguese person. Like, who knows what the heck she's her. And she can't take information in without someone being there with her to process it. That's kind of interesting. So do you know, can you articulate how you take information in best? Have you ever thought about that? Lilia, if you're still on the phone, do you know how you take information in? Next question. You can be sure I will shut down when. You can be sure I'll shut down when what? Boy, if I'm running a team, I want to know the answer to that question on each one of you. When will you all shut down? What stops you in your tracks?
That's such a good one.
It's like, what? I want you to articulate that. You're not perfect. The world isn't perfect. Sometimes you get stopped in your tracks. When? Like, for me, what stops me in my tracks is if someone keeps coming at me with problems, I get stopped. The first time one of my team folks come to me with a problem, I'm sort of good. The second time, I get a bit frayed. The third person who comes at me with a problem on a given day, I bark at them. I snap, I shouldn't. But it's like, on my team, it's like, who's the third person? You never want to be the third person. Because if you're the third person, I get stopped. Because I like making and seeing and the possible. I don't like now, should I like problems? Well, yeah, I should be a lot of things. You should be a lot of things that you're not. What stops you is a good thing to own. Again, that doesn't mean that I'm just throwing problems away and ignoring them. It means my team should probably know when you're the third person and I sort of bark at you, it's not you, it's because I'm stopped. I can't take more problems in because I'm not an advisor. I don't like problems. I can solve them. I don't think I'm daft. I think I'm responsible, but I don't love it. So what's your answer to that? What stops you? Your team would love to know that because they can't read your mind. Second to last question, but kind of a sexy, fun one. I will always light up when. I'll always light up when what? I'll always light up when what? For Michelle, it's I will always light up when I can see the visual of it. She's visual. She's always visual. If you show her a visual that works, she'll lean in, she lights up, she perks up. You know, for me, I will always light up when you show me the finished thing.
Or what about recognition? Are you?
Yeah, so light up too is, Michelle asked, I don't know whether you heard that, but what about recognition and praise? I love praise when somebody praises the idea and sees the wholeness of the idea. I love that. And actually I hate praise in public. I hate it. I will steer clear of I worked on your team, don't put me in front of people and clap. I hate my own birthday. I mean, I'm a stimulator, so that's weird, but I hate my own birthday. I want to go under the radar with my birthday. I hate it. You might want a quiet word in your ear, one-on-one with your team leader. Somebody else might like a letter from a client. There's nothing better than a letter from a client. Some of you might just like, rah, rah, everyone on the team just clapping it. It's like a clap line for you. Everyone's got a different sort of thing that lights them up. What's yours? Please don't expect us to read your mind. As a team leader, I need you to tell us what lights you up. Again, this is not to say you're better than anyone else. You're just trying to describe where you're at your best. And then the last question on this cheat sheet is simply, I feel my greatest contribution to this team is ... What? What's your greatest contribution to this team?
Spend time on that one.
What is it that you think is a unique dent that you make in the world? Like, what's the unique contribution that if you weren't there to make it, it wouldn't be made? Has nothing to do with your job description, right? I mean, sometimes, how many people on the phone right now are in HR? I would kind of like to know that, actually. How many HR folks do we have? People that are in some sort of human resources or personnel, maybe learning and development. Like in HR, we do a lot of valuable, my dad was in HR, my grandfather was in HR, so I come from an HR family, and quite a few of us. Okay. In HR, one of the things we try to do is organize jobs around job descriptions, which is okay. That's okay. We've got to figure out ways to pay people and so forth. But for so many of us, the greatest contribution to a team isn't what's in the bloody job description, is it? It's what we think our unique dent is in the world. We've been talking a lot over the last 30 days, those of you who've been with us, about love. And not that you should do what you love, that's too broad, but you should find love in what you do. And the reason for that is love is the precursor to contribution. Love is the precursor to contribution. So the last question on this cheat sheet on you is, what do you think your contribution is to this team, where if you weren't there, what wouldn't happen? Like, that's the coolest. That's the coolest. So,
can I just say a couple things? Casmar63.
Casmar63.
Said, I light up when I help someone. Can you just talk about the importance of getting specific? Like if she was sharing that, just as an example.
So with each of these items, so I got to the end of the 7, there's just 7 questions on your cheat sheet. It's all about you, so it should be sort of interesting to you. As you answer them, what was the name of the person?
Casmar63.
Okay, so Casmar63 said, I light up when I help people, which is great. Stay there. Good. Write that down. Maybe you can pull out some phrases around that from your StandOut report. The only thing I'd say is get vivid, get specific. Which people? When? What sort of help? Does it matter what sort of help? Does it matter what people? Get vivid. Because you know, but we can't read your mind. We're your teammates. We can't read your mind. The more vivid, the better. And when we say find love in what you do, as Jenna Al-Sid says here, when we say find love in what we do, love is so specific. When you said, I light up when I help people. Again, get into which people, when, what are you doing? And we're not suggesting that you can't change what sort of people you like helping. You might learn all sorts of things over the course of your life. But right now, with the team that you're on, the team leader and your colleagues want to know, more granular the better. Whether it's, I take information in this way, or whether it's, this stops me in my tracks, or this lights me up. Like, come on, examine your life.
And you may have talked about it, but in the report, as they're highlighting, think of examples while they're doing it. Because that's
all the way through. Like, listen, when we wrote that StandOut report, we wrote it around those 9 strengths roles. But the way it lives in you, the way it breathes in you, is really, really different from you to the next person. Remember, those top two strengths roles are a doorway into discovery. It's not like a label on your back. It's a doorway in to help you basically write a cheat sheet. And then, just to close this activity off, if you're a team leader, I guess I'm talking to you here.
Tell me your answer to questions.
Okay, there's a bunch of questions you keep. Okay. So just to finish this activity off, if you're a team leader, ask each one of your team to by themselves answer those questions. And then set up a time. Imagine it's like 10 minutes per person. So if you've got a team of 6, it would be a 60-minute thing you would do on the phone or Zoom or whatever. And you're simply going to ask each person to read their cheat sheet. Read it. Read what they said to question 1, question 2, question 3. And then each person who's a team member will have a cheat sheet on, this one's, a cheat sheet on Michelle. And as I'm listening to Michelle talk, I'm scribbling. You could, I suppose, get the person themselves to send an email out with their answers to all these questions. But then each person on the team checks out, and you imagine that Michelle's going to give you all the answers. It's far better to go around each member of the team and have each member of the team sit there with a blank cheat sheet and go, okay, this is the cheat sheet on Michelle. And it's 10 minutes on Michelle. And you're scribbling. And you're learning, and you, by all means, ask questions if you're like, what does that mean? But you're trying to create for you a cheat sheet on each one of your people. How awesome is that? Because then as a team leader, you're ending up with each one of the people on your team going, I know Michelle, I see Michelle, I love Michelle, and we need her for this, and this, and this, and this. And then, boy, for a team leader, so much now is off my shoulders and is onto everyone else. So, simply put, you spend by yourself, you answer those 7 questions, then you jump on the phone and you just spend 10 minutes on each person, and then each other team member scribbles down what they hear. And then, are you done? Are you finished? No. As a team leader, of course, you'll be checking in with each person one-on-one. But I'd recommend you actually come back in a month's time or 2 months' time and do it again. So people can get one click in, one level deeper. All to enable each person to collaborate faster, innovate better. Okay, so that's the activity. We've just done this a ton, and I hope please tell me what you find out, because I hope what you'll find is you'll discover a whole bunch of things about people that you thought you knew. And the weird thing is, because we've lost a lot of face time where we don't see each other face to face every day, weirdly and counterintuitively, it might actually enable us to see each other better during this time. Okay, questions. Yes, some questions.
En route life 2018.
En route life 2018.
What if people say they can't answer these questions? They don't know what makes them light up or stop or their greatest contribution. The StandOut report should help.
Yeah, so the question was, what happens if you can't do that? What happens if you can't answer the questions? By the way,
or
that's
maybe
interesting.
You're a team leader and people come to you and say, I don't know.
Yeah, well, so if you can't answer the questions, by the way, that's interesting. Because if you can't answer them, then what do you expect of the people around you? So, first of all, good to know. Second of all, don't beat yourself up about it. No one at school and no one at work has bothered to try to help you answer these questions. For you, this may be the first time you ever do this. It's kind of interesting. Third, I think the StandOut report is designed to help you. It's designed to give you a leg up. So if you can't answer some of these questions, go back to the report and see what's in there that really resonates with you and see whether those kinds of descriptions fit you. The point of the StandOut report was to give you an accelerant, to give you a leg up on stuff that you might not otherwise know. To say to people like, just to say to them blank, hey, what lights you up? It's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty good at telling my flaws and failings, but to actually talk about what invigorates me and lifts me up, I get super inarticulate. Most of us do. You know, Lilia, I bet, isn't particularly articulate about what lights her up. Well, maybe she would be, but there's an awful lot of 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids who no one teaches them how to do any of this. So use a StandOut report to help you accelerate. And then we always talk about doing the love it, loathe it activity. If you've never done it, try it. You just take a blank pad around with you for a week. You draw the line down the middle of the pad, put loved it at the top of one column, loathed it at the top of the other, and take it around with you for a week. And just inventory, or if you're in England, inventory. Take an inventory of your emotional reaction to the activities that fill a week for you. That's interesting. And then you're using the raw material of a regular week of your life to figure out which things you lean into and which things you recoil from. Fascinating. Try that if you can't answer the questions. Duchess.
I'm a movie plus. I don't know. I manage a small team, 3 including me. Does StandOut have a place here? I'm worried that we're too small to have the luxury of playing to our strengths. There's tons of work to do and not enough people. Hello, I hear ya. I feel ya.
So that's a great question, right? We're too small a team. We've got tons of work to do. We don't have the luxury of playing to our strengths. Just click on, give me some hearts if you know what that feels. We can't play to our strengths. We're too small a team to play to our strengths. It's a luxury. Okay, first of all, it's never a luxury. The only way that you're going to get more contribution and resilience from that contribution is if people feel as though you are at very least paying attention to what their particular strengths are. You do not, and this is directly to you, Duchess, or it's to anybody who runs a small team, you don't have to change everybody's jobs to fit their strengths perfectly. You don't. Even if we get you to play to your strengths for 20% of your time, the research from the Mayo Clinic seems to show that when people play to their strengths at least 20% of the time, they are far less likely to experience symptoms of burnout, physical symptoms of burnout. So you don't have to have a perfect match between person and job. It seems as though actually the most important beginning point is each team member going, does anyone even know or care which activities in my life invigorate me? What shuts me down? Remember, the beginning point for contribution is being seen. See me. That doesn't mean you have to change every role and responsibility to fit me. It just means you've seen me. Seeing someone isn't a luxury at work on teams any more than it's a luxury in relationships. We're wired to want somebody to pay attention to the uniqueness of us. And if you even just start by showing awareness that you've heard me, seen me, I will forgive you lots and lots of things on my plate that don't fit me. I don't need to have the whole entire world perfectly aligned to who I am. I'm going to have to suck up some things and just do them, I will. But when I don't feel seen, when I feel lost, when I feel lonely, when I feel as though no one really gets me at all, okay, that's when I break down. That's when I am unforgiving of others. That's when I don't make my greatest contribution. So just to be super clear to Duchess or anybody else running a small team, paying attention to what strengthens people is not a luxury. It is the beginning point for all high-performance teams. You start there with awareness and sharing, and then I know you can't wave a magic wand and suddenly everybody's job changes perfect. Of course, that's not going to happen. But for humans, real humans, the worst thing in the world is to come into work. That's why nurses, obviously 60 nurses, 1 nurse supervisor. What's most damaging about, there's a lot of things damaging about that, but what's most damaging? Each nurse doesn't feel seen. That's what undermines a human being.
Gorby Sangko, that's a great question. Can you see it?
Gorby Sangko. How would you weave your team's strengths to work if work and expectations is uniform for everywhere? Everyone, e.g. teams of nurses. So that question is, if everyone's got the same job, how do you weave seeing people's uniqueness if everyone's got the same job? Well, and he was pointing to nurses.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. Sorry, well into it immediately. So yeah, these questions are all for all of us. They're such a gift for everyone on the live right now, because they help us to basically go around the corner and examine things we might not otherwise get to. So here's what's interesting about jobs, right? If you are a nurse in an emergency room, and there's 7 other nurses in an emergency room, when you study the best nurses in an emergency room, they're all doing it differently. Average is uniform. Excellence is idiosyncratic in anything. I got my first lesson on this when the first people that I studied in any job doing anything was housekeepers at Walt Disney World. And you think of the average housekeeper, and you can define a job description for a housekeeper, and supposedly all 3,000 housekeepers were doing the same job, same number of rooms, same everything. But you sit down with the very best housekeepers at Walt Disney World, and you hear how unique each one is. One is way more interested in building a scene so that each child comes back in and sees Mickey, that famous Disney character, Donnie, Mickey and Minnie dancing on the windowsill. Like, some housekeepers are amazing at that. Some housekeepers are really good at ensuring that on a really busy day when there's a ton of checkouts, that everything goes smoothly. Some are really good at just rallying their own particular colleagues. Every housekeeper at excellence is doing something weird and wonderful and different. So as a takeaway, at excellence, no one does the same job in the same way. Excellence in any job, teaching, nursing, selling, working on a manufacturing facility, customer service, housekeeping, you name it. Any job done at excellence looks unique and is a manifestation of the authentic uniqueness of each human. That's why they're good. And that's why we as customers, we lean in because we're like, there was something kind of cool about, yes, you were checking me into a hotel, but you were, I don't know, there was something about that it's like a waiter. Well, everyone doing the waitress to a waiter job is the same. No, they're not, right? Each really amazing waiter or waitress is responding to the uniqueness of the guest, and they're making you feel seen and heard as a customer. But each one is doing it differently. One's making jokes. One's just remembering your favorite dish. One's building a kind of a collegial feeling around the table. Everyone's doing it differently. And so the challenge when you're running a team isn't creating uniformity. It's creating uniformity of outcomes while allowing individuality of methods. Standardize the outcome. Individualize the means. That's what the best team leaders do. You've got a whole bunch of nurses working in an emergency room. They're all the best ones. They're all doing it slightly differently. And the best team leader doesn't go, no, you must all do it the same. He or she may go, look, there are some minimum standards here, like showing up.